From Minneapolis, Minnesota, you're watching NABJ TV News.
NABJ is celebrating 40 years. See what the founders have to say about where we are and where we are going.
And a young woman mistaken for her attacker and shot by police speaks out for the first time. Hear her side of the story and the community's plans for justice.
And he's one of the biggest stars to come out of Minneapolis. Find out how this music icon helped add to the city's rich history.
It's day 2 of the National Association of Black Journalists' 40th convention, and the expo is in full swing. I'm Valerie Young.
And I'm Rachel Scott. This year, NABJ celebrates a new milestone. The 2015 NABJ convention has a special meaning for members this year. It's the 40th anniversary. I spoke with the organization's founders to take a look back on the last 4 decades.
Welcome.
Here's how NABJ members began the organization's 40th anniversary here in Minneapolis. The celebration really started 4 decades ago. December 1975. 44 men and women got together and created
the National Association of Black Journalists? Yes.
Founder Allison Davis smiles as she remembers the day the board met with President Carter at the White House. It's one way they opened many doors for other black journalists.
It's also been extremely emotional for me. I never imagined that it would grow to this heights. I never imagined that we would reach 40 years.
But there were challenges at the beginning of their careers.
It was a period when integration was taking place, but reluctantly.
In 1975, there were a few people of color breaking into the journalism industry. Now, 40 years later, there's more than enough to fill an entire convention center. And many people credit that to NABJ.
Less than 0.1% of African Americans worked for majority newspapers. Most of them worked for black newspapers. Today, that number is all the way up to 8%. Not good, but better.
Better, he says, but there's still more to be done.
It's not just about convention. It's about making sure that this organization is sustainable for the next 40 and 80 and 120 and on and on and on. And the founders are still investing time into the future of NABJ. Allison Davis, who you just saw, is a mentor for student projects this year.
And at our convention, the busiest place is always the job fair. It's where job seekers and people looking to hire come and connect. They are dressed for success, hoping to not just impress, but leave here with solid leads, or better yet, job offers. It's especially important at a time when recent studies show participation by minority journalists are declining in the nation's newsrooms. Now, with so much at stake, just how far will your credentials and your appeal get you?
You can have a degree from Harvard University. That's not going to get you that opportunity that you need. It's about experience and your drive and not taking no for an answer. There's been so many times I've heard no, so many times, but I just need that one yes.
In a TV newsroom, it's all about fit. It's all about what you need. I've met probably 8 or 10 reporters today that could easily work in my newsroom, but I don't have a position for them right now. I'm looking for a niche position, maybe an anchor reporter, and they just report. Or maybe I need a reporter, but they want to anchor and report.
Now, news manager Brandon Scherer says news agencies today are looking for someone who can navigate the newsroom as well as cyberspace. He says versatility, being in the loop, and a little bit of luck can help you secure a job.
While some convention goers come in search of a job, others are already hard at work on an effort that will help them reach that next step.
Zyra Savage shows us how the effort is still helping after more than 2 decades.
During the hustle and bustle of the convention every year, a select few students work on their skills at the student projects, a convention tradition more than 20 years strong.
Usually room 205A is a conference room in the Minneapolis Convention Center, but for this week only, it's a working newsroom. Many young journalists are getting hands-on experience that will help them in their professional growth.
State police are investigating.
Damani Lewis says he learned some valuable lessons from that hands-on experience in his first job.
And they played the live shot the night before where I just completely messed up, And they said, if this ever happens again, you're fired.
Student Projects is the brainchild of Walter Middlebrook and Dr. Sheila Brooks. Middlebrook worked with print students and Brooks worked with broadcast students.
It just has grown over the years into one of the most respected initiatives that this organization has ever done.
You come from a place like Minneapolis to a convention where you see thousands of black people who are doing what I'm doing. That was like revolt, just revolutionary.
For more than 20 years, NABJ has matched students with professional mentors during the week of the annual convention. That is a week Marissa Evans will never forget. She was part of Student Projects in 2012.
In between yelling at us about, missing slot or missing deadline or turning in like copy that's a little bit rough, they still loved us enough to tell us, you can do better.
We try to relay it to them.
Lewis echoes that sentiment and pays it forward.
I try to give back whenever, some student will call me back from NABJ short course from 10 years ago, and I might not remember the name, but you know what? I will always listen.
Damani Lewis is now an anchor reporter in Pittsburgh. Marissa Evans is a reporter in Washington, D.C. She also ran for student rep in 2011. This year, no one ran for the student representative position for the board. And Val, this is the first time the president will need to appoint a new one.
Absolutely, and we're getting that great experience right now.
Every single day.
Every single day. Thanks, Cyrus.
Last year at the 2014 convention, people were found sneaking into the conference with fake ID badges. We sent Raji Ramanathan to find out what's being done this year to prevent the problem.
That's right, Rachel. These badges have a security sticker on them. This means that when a security scans a fake badge, it will read void.
There's going to be no more fake badges at the NABJ convention because the organization is increasing its security measures. The Student Projects team was the first to investigate and report on the issue at the 2014 NABJ convention in Boston. Last year, people were caught illegally entering the convention with badges that were either photocopied or shared. NABJ leaders were disappointed and frustrated.
Why should I register for this conference if I can just walk in free and avail myself of services that other people are paid for? That's not right. That's not responsible.
To prevent having counterfeit badges at convention this year, a special hologram sticker is placed on every badge. NABJ leaders hope this increase in security will put an end to counterfeit badges.
And as of now, there have been no reports of any misuse of badges at this year's convention. And Rachel, NABJ leaders really hope it stays that way.
All right, Raji, thanks so much.
Minneapolis is gearing up to introduce a new one-of-a-kind stadium in preparation for hosting the 2018 Super Bowl. The $1 billion Viking Stadium will open in less than 1 year. It will feature many unique additions, including the nation's only ETFE roof in a sports facility. The roof is designed with transparent material that allows light in. Vikings Executive President Lester Bagley says there's nothing like it in the country. The final step to completing the stadium is adding seats. No set date has been released for when the stadium officially opens. And up next, a tragic case of mistaken identity.
One local woman's story of alleged police misconduct that has the community seeking answers.
Also ahead, there are a lot of aspiring sports journalists at this year's convention, but starting your career may be harder than you think.
About 2 years ago, that's actually when I met my fiance, Justin. We actually met on the dance floor at NABJ Orlando, so that has to go down as one of my all-time fave memories at NABJ.
All of us at WCCO TV are honored to support the National Association of Black Journalists.
Your commitment to recognizing and developing talent and providing programs and services to black journalists worldwide is truly inspiring.
Thank you, NABJ.
People say content is king for a reason. It's what draws you in, makes you stay, keeps you coming back for more. Your options are endless, but you want one local news source you can trust. You want WCCO. We're telling your stories and sharing your experiences from all four corners of this great state. People say content is king. WCCO, always.
People used to ask me all the time if I got excited during severe weather. Ooh, tornadoes, is that like, yes, this is what I got into the business for? The answer is no. I hate when tornadoes hit because nothing good comes of it. But it's a reality, and it's something I'm prepared to cover when it hits.
At NBC Universal, we continue to honor those before us and add to this rich living history, continuing the tradition of sharing the most entertaining, inspiring, and pertinent stories of our time.
According to a recent Associated Press survey, more than 3 out of 5 blacks in the U.S. say they or a family member have had a personal experience with being treated unfairly by the police. Daniel Dumas joins us now with a local woman's story.
What if you call the police for protection, but you end up on the wrong end of the officer's effort to protect and serve? You'd certainly feel a sense of frustration. Well, Tiana Harris is no different. In this exclusive interview, we explore her story of alleged police misconduct and the response from the surrounding community. Please be advised, some of the images you'll see are graphic.
I didn't die, and I appreciate that, but at the same time, I still do want justice for, being in that predicament.
The predicament 18-year-old Tania Harris is speaking of occurred in April in Robbinsdale. She says she was shot by a police officer after he discovered her holding a knife.
I was in an altercation with another female. She actually came to my house, came inside my house, and my mom, escorted her out, called the police, and they just seen me with the weapon in my hand, and they shot me 3 times.
Standing nearby, she says, was her 1-year-old daughter.
I feel like my life didn't matter. Like when I asked the police, why did you shoot me? I have a child right there, right? But, she was a few feet away from me, and he just said he don't know. And it's not enough reason to just keep shooting us.
What we're seeing is that there is a huge distrust of law enforcement and police.
Michael McDowell is a founding member of Black Lives Matter Minneapolis. He spoke at a recent panel discussion hosted by Neighborhoods Organizing for Change on police and community relations. The event was prompted by the anniversary of Michael Brown's death and cases like Harris's.
So we're looking to figure out how community can have more of a role in hiring police, and with these high-profile shootings and stuff like that, it's actually the community deciding what happens with this cop.
And from Tania's point of view, people are skeptical.
Who can I trust? Because, my mom called them to, protect us, and, they shot her child. So, how are we supposed to feel?
Tania's case is still under investigation and open.
Now, Daniel, I know this was a really big story here in Minneapolis and around the nation. What else does the community want to see moving forward?
Well, Rachel, the people in the community also expressed that they would like to see the policemen in the Minneapolis surrounding area wear cameras when in the line of duty, as well as live in the communities that they actually police in. There's also been interest in establishing a community review board for police officers. Rachel.
Thanks, Daniel.
Minneapolis Black Lives Matter protesters got some good news this week. According to a report in the Current Sun, trespassing charges were dropped against at least 10 protesters at the Mall of America in December. But misdemeanor charges are still pending. More than 1,000 demonstrators gathered at the mall to protest that day. 2 of the people charged said the case against them was unjustified.
The fact that the trespass charges were dropped signals what we've been talking about for a long time, which is the fact that these are trumped up charges, that it's not in the interest of justice to continue to waste taxpayer dollars and time prosecuting us.
We feel like MOA is just like reaching and grabbing and trying to pull for whatever they can to make this stick. But overall, we're seeing this as like a win. It's one step closer to the mall backing down.
And nearly 26 other protesters' misdemeanor charges are still pending.
Stuart Scott and Brian Burwell, two trailblazers in sports journalism. Both were remembered on Thursday at the Sports Task Force Tribute. At the panel discussion, friends and colleagues shared their fond memories of Scott and Burrell, and audience members actively participated in the conversation. A discussion on Twitter between NABJ President Bob Butler and VP of Broadcast Galen Gordon pushed for an idea. That idea was to induct the late Stuart Scott into the NABJ Hall of Fame.
I heard that the board unanimously voted Stuart Scott into the NABJ Hall of Fame coming up in December. So I was excited to hear about that. President Bob Butler and I had a healthy exchange about Stuart's omission into the Hall of Fame.
So, all of the stuff about on Twitter and Stephen A., that was noise that didn't really impact our decision.
Thursday's panel ended with friends sharing how Scott and Burrell inspired them.
Now, Rachel, I saw it was raining outside. It looked like it was pouring. I definitely don't want to go out there.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the summer sunshine comes back. Let's toss it over to Brandy Peterson with the weather.
At some point, sunshine will return, but for now, we're going to deal with a bit more rain. I actually heard the rain out there, but that's nothing compared to what happened earlier today. As a matter of fact, we have an area of storm watch that we're still keeping our eye on through 10 o'clock tonight. Included in this watch are Chippewa and Madison County areas, yellow Madison County areas. You can look and see where the rain is right now. It will be moving from west to east, coming to the Minneapolis area later tonight. Looking at dew points, you notice it's a bit muggier out there. That's because those dew points have risen. You see both St. Cloud and the Twin Cities right around the mid-60s right now for dew points. Temperatures, it never really got above the low 70s today. I was a bit chilly, and that's because of the cloud cover. It kept us right here in the low 70s. You can see Hayward and Rice really never made it out of the mid-60s, both sitting at 66 right now. Forecast. The rain, it will move, like I said, from west to east, making its way here to the Twin Cities later on tonight. Right behind that tomorrow, we'll have cloud cover, but it will dissipate as the day goes on. It will move out of the area. At some point, the sunshine will return. Tomorrow's forecast, we have a bit warmer temperatures that we're looking forward to. 82 here in the Twin Cities. Fargo could get all the way up to 86. Looking at our 7-day, like I said, it's a bit muggier. Get used to it, folks. It's going to stick around for the next day or so. Tomorrow, we will be humid again. And into Saturday and Sunday, both days, we will have a chance for rain showers. But as we head into next week, the sunshine will make a return. We'll see we'll have low 80s. We'll get into the mid 80s as the week goes on. As a matter of fact, next week could be one of the best weeks we've seen all season. So I say that's something to look forward to.
Oh, definitely. I'm happy some Minneapolis residents will be seeing some sunshine next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be much better than this rain we're seeing right now.
Like I said, it's something to look forward to.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brandy.
You're welcome.
All right, coming up, we take a look at the history of African-American baseball teams. Find out the link between the Negro League and modern-day baseball in the Twin Cities.
And Minneapolis has the largest number of Somalis living outside of Somalia. Coming up, you'll hear why one Somali man calls Minneapolis his home.
Just the opportunity to network with people on the same level as you, and also the opportunity to network with people who've been through the struggle to get to where you're trying to go. That's really the exciting thing about it.
All of us at WCCO TV are honored to support the National Association of Black Journalists.
Your commitment to recognizing and developing talent and providing programs and services to black journalists worldwide is truly inspiring.
Thank you, NABJ.
Our fellow Minnesotans are serving our country and making sacrifices on our behalf every day, and they deserve a record-breaking thank you. In honor of all who have served, WCCO has created More Than Names, an accomplished Minnesota campaign of gratitude and support. You'll be able to sign our larger-than-life flag at events across the state.
I signed because I'm proud of my dad and what he's done for this country.
Why will you sign? Let's accomplish Minnesota. There's a new local show that's dynamic, fresh, conversational, and informative. And the best part? It's on every weekday at 9 a.m. Experience the show that keeps everyone talking. WCCO Mid-Morning with Jason DeRusha and Kylie Verse.
At NBC Universal, we continue to honor those before us and add to this rich living history, continuing the tradition of sharing the most entertaining, inspiring, and pertinent stories of our time.
When you think about baseball, you don't think about Minneapolis, and you probably don't think about African Americans either.
But historically, the black community here in the Twin Cities has been a formidable force in baseball since the beginning of the 20th century. Brandy Peterson joins us here to give us more on this story. Brandy?
That's right. I spoke with a local man who was like a walking Wikipedia of history on America's pastime within the black community here locally. Frank White knows a little more than most about African American baseball history in the Twin Cities. And what a history it is. White has archived the legacy of African American baseball teams dating all the way back to the early 1900s.
It's a photo made into a poster of the St. Paul colored Gophers.
He's a local historian with baseball in his genes.
I grew up playing baseball first and always traveling with my father, watching him play, and didn't realize too many years later maybe how good he was. I knew my father was good.
His dad, Lewis Pud White, was a catcher for the Twin City Colored Giants and a pickup player for the Kansas City Monarchs. He played in the Negro Leagues during a time when segregation kept blacks out of the major leagues.
Baseball was segregated here in Minnesota until 1947. Here's a photo of her meeting Joe Louis.
And it's not just the fellas who were part of the action. Toni Stone, a native of St. Paul, is the first African-American woman who played in the Negro League. Today, there's a baseball field named for Stone. It's in the historic Rondo neighborhood, traditionally home to African-American middle-class families. From 1949 to 1954, Toni Stone played for 4 different all-male teams, spanning the country from San Francisco to Kansas City.
For me, that history is important. And along with that baseball history comes the other pieces of history.
Thinking about where baseball is today, it helps to remember where it started. Frank told me that Negro League teams were sponsored by and named after local businesses, such as the Uptown Sanitary Shop and the Askin and Marine Clothing Company.
I love that story. That's such a hidden gem.
I know. It's such an interesting story. I loved it.
All right. Thanks so much, Brandy.
You're welcome.
In the heart of Minneapolis, you'll find a little community, Carmel Square. And if you dig just a little deeper, you'll find a refugee, now turned barber and comedian, Happy Khalif. The largest population of Somalis outside of Somalia live in Minneapolis, and like Happy, they are all here for one thing.
You know, I come to America, you know, some of the people come to America against their will, but I come here with my will. And I think I will conquer American dream.
Now, Happy says life was good in Somalia until the Civil War plagued the country. Now he finds joy helping people look and feel their best. Just like many Somalis who travel from afar, they call the Twin Cities their home.
Up next, he's the Twin Cities music royalty. Find out where he got his start and the impact he's had on the community. Also coming up, see how a former NBC executive took the spotlight at a concert for music royalty.
There's so many memories, it's so hard to lay one down. You always love to go to the seminars, you always love to meet the people and rekindle relationships that you haven't had for the last year or so and get back together with everybody.
All of us at WCCO TV are honored to support the National Association of Black Journalists.
Your commitment to recognizing and developing talent and providing programs and services to black journalists worldwide is truly inspiring.
Thank you, NABJ.
Minnesotans know you gotta make your weekends count, so you start planning Friday.
Really? Friday? You're kidding, right?
Okay, Thursday.
Seriously?
Wednesday?
Wow. Does your boss know?
Okay, yeah, we start planning before Friday too.
Busted.
And this just doesn't cut it.
Nope.
So each Wednesday, we'll take this and break it down to this. Every forecast, every show, fine-tuning as we go. Make the most of your time off with WCCO's Weekend Walkthrough. Football starts here. Thursday Night Football is on CCO.
At NBC Universal, we continue to honor those before us and add to this rich living history, continuing the tradition of sharing the most entertaining, inspiring, and pertinent stories of our time.
WCCO, always.
He's an artist known for being extremely private, except when it comes to some of his fans. Marcel Warfield shows us how an infamous Minneapolis musician gives fans memorable moments.
That's right, Rachel. You can't come to Minneapolis without learning about the one and only Prince. I went out into the city to see his old stomping grounds and talked to a couple of fans at the convention this year.
A lot of history, that's no doubt. These are photographs of my last 30 years here, including one of His Majesty right there.
This is Daniel Corrigan. He's a photographer at a nightclub in Minneapolis called First Avenue, where the artist Prince first laid his royal touch on stage.
Prince basically played enough times here to become sort of a regular. I mean, he was a very special performer.
I was like, oh, that's what we doing.
Just ask Paula Madison.
He says, get off the stage, you sexy thing.
Author Paula Madison is a former NBC broadcast executive and a friend of Prince.
And a lot of what we bonded over had to do with our view of the world.
He invited her to his concert, and it led to a night to remember.
All I heard was, well, Paula, let's, and then he did, the Prince spin. And then the band really started picking up, and I looked down again, and I was like, okay, it's on.
Dancing with someone who's notoriously private and having a moment most fans only dream of.
It had nothing to do with me, and it was all about, wow, how did I get to be so blessed?
A favorite entertainer for us to have here.
Perhaps the time spent with Prince makes both fans feel like stars. For convention goers, Rachel, you may want to look out for your special moment with Prince. He posted a tweet, then deleted it about something special happening this weekend.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be looking and checking my social media because I want to see Prince.
Listen, I have my purple tie, so I'm ready.
All right. Thanks so much, Marcel.
Now, Zora, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in sports?
Valerie, there's a ton of students, there's a ton of aspiring sports journalists at this year's convention, and this story offers them some advice. Between baseball, football, and basketball, it doesn't matter what sport it is, it brings in millions of dollars every single year. But someone has to tell their stories. 7:30 a.m., but still a packed room. Convention goers seized the opportunity to hear from some of the best in the sports industry.
Why would you leave to go do sports?
Many of them students and aspiring journalists.
You can't, as a general rule, go national until you've done local, until you've gotten your feet wet, until you've cut your teeth.
Former Comcast Sportsnet anchor reporter Keely Fulton Ferguson says most journalists get their starts at local stations. But the problem, according to one local sports journalist, is those jobs are hard to come by.
Every person I went to, they turned and said, hey, sorry, we don't have anything now, but would you like to be a photographer?
Georgie says there are less openings because the local departments can't compete with the networks.
Local sports, local news in general, they just don't have the funds to retain people.
Cutbacks leave desks empty in local sports departments, but professionals who have worked in the business say there are other ways to get started.
I'm gonna have to be a photographer, an editor, something that I don't. I'll have to work news, cover a fire, murder, do news stories, but pitch sports stories, and then be willing to help out the sports department. Not everybody has the same path.
Despite the challenges, Georgie says if you're willing to work, the jobs will come.
Everything is still evolving. It might not be what it is today, but I think sports is something that people will always be interested in.
Both journalists told me there's no right way to advance your career, but if you work hard, there's a job for everyone. The Vikings open the NFL preseason Sunday night in Canton, Ohio in the annual Hall of Fame game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. On Saturday, longtime Vikings center Mick Tingelhoff will finally get his well-deserved induction into the Hall of Fame. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, Justice Alan Page is turning 70 tomorrow, and that magic number means he now has to retire from the bench. We'll chat with Alan this Sunday night. So much to discuss with him, from his glory days with the Vikings and the NFL to his amazing Page Scholarship Foundation to what life after the state Supreme Court will be like. Alan Page will be with us Sunday night, and I'm so excited to have him on the show. Great time and a Minnesota legend.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Big treat for all the sports fans out there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zora.
Of course.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the convention.